Emma and Jack had just moved into their new home, a charming house on Maple Street. It was the kind of house Emma had always dreamed of, a cozy two-story building with a spacious backyard and a white picket fence. They felt lucky to have found it, especially at such a reasonable price. Their friend Claire was thrilled for them and offered to help unpack and get settled in. From the moment they stepped inside, though, something felt off. It wasn't the usual unease of a new place. It was deeper, a prickling sensation that crawled over their skin. Emma dismissed it as moving stress, but the feeling persisted. The first few days were uneventful. They unpacked boxes, arranged furniture, and hung pictures. Yet as night fell, the atmosphere shifted. Shadows seemed to move in the corners of their eyes, and there was a constant feeling of being watched. One night, as they sat in the living room, a loud thud echoed from upstairs. Jack went to investigate but found nothing out of place. Emma tried to laugh it off, suggesting it might be the house settling, but her voice trembled. Claire arrived that weekend, excited to see the new house. She was a firm skeptic of anything supernatural, but even she couldn't ignore the oppressive heaviness in the air. They decided to hold a small housewarming party to lift their spirits. As they sat around the kitchen table, they heard a faint whispering. Emma's heart raced as she glanced at Jack, who was pale and wide-eyed. Claire, always the brave one, suggested they check it out together. They followed the sound to the basement door. The whispers grew louder, almost like chanting. The air was cold, unnaturally so, and the smell of damp earth and decay filled their nostrils. Jack hesitated, but Claire urged them on. The basement was dimly lit by a single flickering bulb. The shadows seemed to dance and writhe. In the far corner they saw something that made their blood run cold. A crude pentagram drawn on the floor, surrounded by burnt-out candles. Emma felt a chill that went bone deep. "This is insane," Jack whispered. "What the hell happened here?" Claire knelt down, examining the symbols. "This looks like some kind of ritual. But why?" Before anyone could answer, a deafening crash came from above. They rushed upstairs to find the living room in chaos. Furniture overturned, pictures shattered, and the walls gouged with deep, claw-like marks. "We need to leave," Emma stammered, her voice shaking. "Now." But as they reached the front door, it slammed shut with a force that rattled the house. The whispers returned, louder, almost screaming now. Panic surged through them as they struggled to open the door. It wouldn't budge. Claire grabbed a kitchen knife, brandishing it like a weapon. "Whatever this is, it's not going to let us go easily." The lights flickered and then went out, plunging the house into darkness. The temperature dropped further, and they could see their breath misting in the air. The whispers became voices, unintelligible but filled with malice. Suddenly, Emma felt something cold wrap around her ankle. She screamed, kicking frantically. Jack grabbed her, pulling her away from the invisible grip. Claire slashed at the air, and the coldness receded. Jack shouted, "Upstairs. We can try the windows." They bolted up the stairs, the voices following them, growing more aggressive. They reached the master bedroom and tried the window. It, too, was stuck fast. Emma pounded on the glass, desperate. Claire turned, her face pale in the dim light. "We're not alone." A figure stood in the doorway. A man, or what had once been a man. His eyes were hollow, and his face twisted with rage. He stepped forward, and the air grew even colder. "Get out of my house," the figure hissed, the voice layered with countless others. "We can't," Emma cried. "We're trapped." The ghost's expression twisted into a ghastly smile. "You'll never leave. This house is mine. It always has been." Claire, always the fighter, lunged at the ghost with the knife. It passed through him harmlessly, and he laughed, a sound that made their blood turn to ice. "You cannot fight me," he taunted. "You belong to me now." Emma's mind raced. She remembered the symbols in the basement. "The ritual," she whispered. "It's a binding ritual. He's tied to this place." Jack looked at her, understanding dawning. "We need to break the ritual." "How?" Claire demanded, still clutching the knife. "We need to disrupt the symbols," Emma said, her voice gaining strength. "If we can break the circle, we might be able to weaken him." The ghost screamed, a sound that reverberated through their very bones. "You will not." They ran back to the basement, the ghost's fury palpable behind them. Emma grabbed a piece of broken glass and began to scrape at the symbols, erasing them. Jack and Claire joined in, frantically trying to break the circle. The air grew thicker, the pressure almost unbearable. The ghost appeared before them, his face a mask of rage. "Stop." Emma's hand trembled, but she continued. "We have to do this. It's the only way." With one final stroke, the last symbol was broken. The ghost let out a horrifying scream, and the oppressive weight lifted, the air warmed, and the whispers ceased. The house was silent. They stood there, breathing heavily, staring at the spot where the ghost had been. It was over. 1 year later, Emma and Jack sold the house and moved to a different neighborhood. They never spoke of the events again, and their friendship with Claire remained strong, bonded by the trauma they endured. One night, as they sat in their new home, Emma received a notification on her phone. It was a news article about the house on Maple Street. The new owners had reported strange occurrences, whispers, cold spots, and moving shadows. Emma's blood ran cold as she read the final line. Previous tenants claimed the house is haunted by the ghost of its former owner, who performed dark rituals to bind his spirit to the place. She looked at Jack, her eyes wide with fear. "It's starting again." Jack took her hand, his grip firm. "We're not going back." Emma nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that their ordeal wasn't truly over. The house on Maple Street held its secrets tight, and some spirits never rest.